listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talk podcast show. Mark and Ken.
What's up?
On episode 254 of the Shite Talk podcast show.
Take 3.
Yeah, happy as ever that this is a recorded show and not live.
It would be funnier if it was live, though.
Yeah, we should do a live show. You can do it on Twitter, where basically you broadcast live on Twitter, and then you can actually allow callers in. You can get people to call in and be like, "Hey, have your say on this."
I wonder how that would go.
I wonder if anyone would actually call in. We don't have the biggest following on Twitter.
Is our number one fan on Twitter?
Who's our number one fan?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember what her name is.
Oh, I don't think so. We used to have Stephen Fry used to follow us on Twitter. Then I was so pleased by it.
Used to.
He actively unfollowed us. He actively said, "No, I actually don't like these guys." I'm also we've like 33 followers on Twitter only, and we're following 92. We're desperately just following everybody to be like, "Hey, like us, maybe."
Be like those annoying people on Instagram that are always like, promote it on whatever records.
Yeah, exactly. We don't got any of that on Twitter. There's no like spam posts on Twitter too much. So you have to get real people to like it.
You should start spamming everyone.
Yeah, well, I've got to the point where I just comment on different things. As ways to get popularity.
Just starting rows.
Well, not really starting rows. Just being like, hey, this is funny. Anyway, what's been happening in the life of Ken since last time we were on?
Not much.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Still haven't baby teething, or is baby teething gone?
There's no teeth yet, but just kind of calm down.
Alright, she just chose not to have teeth.
Yeah.
That's good. You don't really need them. They're overrated. Probably making a logical
you can just mash your gums together and make everything into a tin paste.
Yeah, just blend it. Get people to blend your food.
Yeah. That's kind of what's happening anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I get used to solids. They're overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had a relatively quiet few weeks. I was mental prior to that. Went to a wedding, broke up with my girlfriend, got COVID after the lads brought me out for a few drinks to get me over that, and recovered and had high blood pressure then.
You have high blood pressure like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but I started getting pains in my chest, and my parents have a high blood pressure checker thingy. And I checked it because I was getting pains in my chest and it was high. So I was like, oh, that's not good. This probably means I probably should call like a doctor of some sort. I was like, I'm just going to ignore it and have a Guinness. So I ignored it and had a Guinness. Because I was like, you know what will lower my blood pressure? Guinness. So that's how that's what I generally did. And then I was going to bed and then started to feel a little bit dizzy. And then I went to bed hoping I'd wake up and I felt fine. Checked the next day and it said it was normal, but it seems still a little bit high. I checked it again later on. It was a lot lower. Checked it again and it was fine. So I was like, never checked it after that. I was like, yeah, it will be fine.
Mark Logic.
I don't have to check anymore. I don't have heart disease.
Did you not even call the vet?
Call the vet?
Yeah.
No.
It's like a doctor of some sort.
Event. What do you think?
Yeah, but like a real doctor would be like, or not a real, like a human doctor
Yeah.
would be like, oh, come in and we'll send you for tests. Whereas a vet would be like, the fuck do I know? And then you'd be like, it's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine. You probably should ring the doctor.
I did. You're a doctor.
Yeah. You're an animal doctor. And my friend's going out with a vet, so I could have rang her, being like, "Hey, Carol." I know I keep calling you Carl instead of Carl, and you say you don't mind, but people keep bringing it up. Anywho, I have high blood pressure.
What do I do?
What do you think I should do? Sincerely, Mark. Yeah, but I was fine after a while, and then I asked your man who also got COVID that I knew, and he was like, "Yeah, I had high blood pressure as well. Felt really bad." And it's like, "Yeah, we'd instinct high blood pressure."
Maybe it's like a COVID thing.
I think, that's what I was thinking it was. I kind of felt that was probably an after effect of COVID. Yes. So, anyway, our stories. I haven't jumped back into the Tinder stories just yet.
Just they're coming.
They will be coming. They will be coming. But we do have an idiot of the week.
We do.
We have also a story that we didn't get to last week, which involves a woman and her dog, and I don't believe her. I don't believe what she says actually happened, but for legal reasons, this story might be even made up. This mightn't even have existed. And we might be just talking about this. This could be fictional. It probably could be fictional. But I don't believe this shit she said actually happened.
We should put in a disclaimer that said may have actually happened.
It may have happened. And it may not even be real. Whatever gets us out of being sued.
Sure, what are they going to get?
Yeah, exactly. They can have the podcast at this stage.
Like half of nothing is nothing, so.
Yeah, exactly. And then Jim Carrey, right? He's been in some epic roles. Ace Ventura, The Mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Orange County?
I don't think he was in Orange County, was he?
What was the one where he had two personalities? Two of a kind?
Me, myself, and Irene.
Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he had like split personalities in that.
Yeah, he's been in so many like iconic roles. Definitely a kind of a generational actor where none of his movies could be made today, not because they were necessarily offensive to today's people, just that they're kind of like they were a kind of a time capsule of what people's sense of humor at that time.
Yeah,
but he's still getting pretty good roles. He was played in Sonic recently enough, didn't he?
He did.
He's kind of acted throughout, but like I still think his early '90s, late '90s stuff is probably his best.
Yeah, realistically, it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, could you think off the top of your head what movie you think he goes? Oh, I really regret that.
Well, I think I've seen this before.
Oh, really?
I think I've seen him talking about this before.
All right. Well, I can't remember, so our listeners definitely won't remember. That's what.
Is it a very, very violent movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going as bad as I fucking love science, a Facebook page. We're posting all stories from fucking. Because every few months they'll post like stories about something they did a story 5 years ago, and people are like, "You've already done this story like 5 years ago, and then 3 years ago, and then 6 months ago. So why are you doing this? Why don't you get new stories?" And then they go like they seem to have like a team where like they'll start talking the same subjects over and over again.
It's all about getting the clicks.
Yeah, people are clicking on vagina stories. Let's post more. Here's one from 7 years ago. And believe it or not, we have also an interesting story. I know we don't do these a lot. I think we might have a segment. We need to do like a catchphrase like we have for Idiots of the Week.
Yeah, we need a team song, Mark.
A theme song for it's an interesting story, something like that. But anyway, a man was in prison for 35 years, and all thanks to the Mythbusters, he's now a free man.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going through like the story of why he first got arrested and what led to his exoneration.
Oh,
Yes.
somebody's been reading a dictionary.
I know that what do you call that thing where it gives you words? Thesaurus. I can't read the cover page, but I browse some of the pictures that have images. What is that called? Is this a thesaurus? It isn't a thesaurus. It's like that. You know what I'm on about, though. I'm in the ballpark of what it sounds like.
Yeah, something like that.
Dixosaurus. I don't know. I'm giving up now.
Dickosaurus.
No, that's that porno you started in. Definitely a porno called Dixosaurus. Jurassic Dick.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah. And then our final story is my once again try at convincing to Ken that aliens exist. And this time I'm using drugs.
This time he's drunk. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is our drug story about how scientists are saying aliens exist, and we have proof because we found their drugs. We found their stash of drugs. And if we had an award for the most clickbait story I've ever come across, this is it. But you know what? I was only doing the research 10 minutes before the show was about to be recorded. I wasn't going to look again. I said, I'll make this work.
So you fell into the clickbait.
Oh, hook, line, and sinker. Just because it's at the top of the page, we'll go off kind of our norm, and instead of finishing with our idiots of the week, we'll start with our idiots of the week.
Dun dun dun.
This is part of the show created for idiots by idiots, and it's where we talk about people doing dumb things.
It is.
This is about a woman's parking, not women's parking, because that would be sexist. But a woman of the female kind is on our idiots of the week. Surprisingly, I'm shocked because of her parking.
Shocked because her
Like, I know this is probably the first time a lot of men out there are hearing that a woman parks badly. We're all surprised, but Ken has the details. All right.
I'm also going to say before there's any sort of shit about this article that I got this from was written by a woman.
Fair enough.
just whatever. So it's this 38-year-old woman from Stuttgart in Germany.
Yeah.
Pulled into a multi-story car park.
Oh yeah.
Look in a little smart car.
They're the easiest to park. Yeah. That's the whole idea of them is for it. This is why this car is being created. It's for getting multi-story car parks. You only buy this car for one purpose, and you're like, oh, it'll be easy to get in and out of multi-story car parks. It's small and thin. You can fit two of them into one spot.
Right? So she's driving around. She's trying to find her parking spot. She finds the perfect parking spot. She pulls into it, and she plunges 35 foot down a lift shaft.
Fuck. Gee, a lift shaft.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem with these smart cars, is because you think you can fit them in anywhere, any gap at all. I'm sure you're like, I can fit that in there. Yeah, I'll get that in there. And like, obviously, the lift shaft must be at the ground level. Was there anybody in the lift shaft?
No, like she just there's a photo of it here. Like she just literally flipped the car upside down. It landed on the top of the lift.
Oh, right. So you didn't fall 35 feet.
Yeah, she fell 35 feet. Like
Jesus.
so the lift was on the ground floor and she was like up somewhere. She drove into the lift shaft and fell down 35 feet.
And was she all right?
Oh yeah, like she climbed out with a car and she rang the fire brigade.
I'd be like, yeah, it must, like, I don't know. It probably should be obvious that, yes, the fire brigade are the ones to call. I'd be like, who do I call? Do we call the AA? Do I ring my insurance company and ask for breakdown assistance? I would have probably called my insurance and said, oh, I need my car. Do I have breakdown assistance? And when they said yes, I was like, all right, I'm in this car park. My car is kind of stuck. I can't get it out. Can you send somebody down? And when I wouldn't tell them that I felt 35, I just leave them there for them to deal with that. And I go get a cup of coffee just to calm myself down.
Like looking at it, like the car is written off, right? So I don't know. Have you ever had to claim off your car insurance?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you know when they send you out like a sheet of paper, they're like, draw up what happened.
I've never had to draw what happened. I've had to write out a description of what happened.
Oh, like they send me like a fucking piece of paper. They're like, draw what happened.
I recently had to claim off somebody else's insurance, and they didn't send me out a piece of paper to draw what happened.
Like, so imagine this one, draw what happened, and she fucking flipped the car into a lift.
There's a stick man of a female and a car, then the female in the car, the multi-story car park and lift, and it's put arrow pointing down, and then smoke rising up.
Like, definitely, like, you're not getting insured again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to probably get your eyes tested. You're like, did they say by any chance how much this mistake cost her?
No.
You often see these like kind of videos online the other time where the person, like the narrator, might be like, "Oh, this person was in a driving test, and they're like just pulled back into the place, and a gate's closing, and then the gate ends up like catching the car, and the car ends up flipping over, and like the gate is bashing off the car."
Like a Simpsons episode.
Yeah, pretty much like exactly like the Simpsons episode. But like people are mad. I remember one of my friends, and she talked about this incident that happened to her dad, and her dad. Oh, I think it was like in the middle of the night. Her dad must have a business that like where he had staff out late, and he was giving people directions, and he said to your man who wasn't native to Ireland, "Go straight through the roundabout."
Oh no!
Yeah, and got a call at like 1:00 in the morning. I don't know if your man rang him or the guards rang him and be like, "Your van is in the middle of this roundabout, beached." Because your man took it literally. In this country, you can drive straight through and over a roundabout. It's okay. There is a road going around it and arrows pointing to go this way. But if your boss tells you to go straight over that roundabout, you go straight over that roundabout. It'd be a hell of a lot quicker.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And I presume that person was a fella. So like, let's give the ladies a little bit of slack. Have anything like that happened to you in terms of parking wise?
No. I've never flipped the car into a fucking lift shaft.
I've forgot to put up the handbrake and it started like rolling back before.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was on my holidays in Spain, over at the wedding, we went. I think there was 8 of us, going to look for a restaurant to go get food, without booking it. Just wander in. So every place was like no, but we seen this like van, and it was leaning against this car, and we're like, oh, your man must have rolled into it. But the car then had pulled away, and your man's handbrake had completely gone. The van just had rolled down and hit into these. They had these little balls that were meant to be instead of a wall, and I'd roll down and hit into these barriers and stop the van from going onto the road.
Like, the only thing that's ever really happened to me was I was driving like maybe a month, and I was in work, and I was like parked kind of like near the handicap spaces.
Yeah.
And like I looked around, there was no cars, and as I started reversing out, I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll reverse out, because I was kind of like nervous about reversing. It's like I'll reverse out, I'll reverse into the empty handicap space, and I'll like drive off that way. So I started reversing, went to turn into the handicap space, and crashed into a fucking car that had driven the wrong way down the car park and pulled into the handicap space. And yeah, when I got out of the car, there was like this outlet. It was a Merc, and there was this outlet there, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Never buy a car if you can't fix it, young lad."
That
And I was
nice
like,
of
"All
him.
right, see you later." And like 2 weeks later, I seen him down at the school, and the car was totaled.
Well, live by that logic.
Like, so I don't know what the fuck he was at. Like 2 weeks later, he absolutely wrote the car off.
Good thing he didn't claim off you. That would have been a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was like one of my friends once again. Their dad had a business, and they're going into a meeting, and your man, one of the passengers, wasn't a driver for him, but he said to him, "Here, look it, stay in the van. I just have to go in. I have to have this meeting. I'll be back out in about an hour, and then we'll continue on." But if anyone comes, move the van out of the way. If it's in anybody's way, just move the van. And he came back to the side of the door of the van, all basically scratched from like the passenger door to the back wheel, because your man literally had to just move it forward and crashed it into a barrier and scraped all down the side of it off the barrier. And it was just like pretty much wrecked the van, like nearly totaled the van.
Was this you, Mark?
No, this wasn't me. I wasn't that bad. I think like the worst thing I did was I didn't see a truck behind me, and I was reversing out and I crashed into a truck, and then yeah. Other than that, I haven't done too much. That was the worst. That was the worst one. I was like, I got too reliant on sensors, and the sensors didn't pick up the truck behind us, and it wasn't bothered checking the mirrors, and straight into the back of it.
Good job, Mark.
See, sensors, they're a bad thing. You become reliant on them. My van now doesn't have any like driving aids at all. So
no sensors or anything.
No sensors. Nothing. You have to use your eyes.
No mirrors. Took the mirrors out because they were cheating.
You're cheating, exactly. I just used the force. But anyway, so that proves that it wasn't just women that are bad drivers. There's plenty of examples of men being ticks. But it just so happens that women get the bad name. So you see, we rescued that one. It started out bad, and started out with women on. Now they're like, yeah, these are ticks. We'll move on to the story because there's next one on the sheet about the woman. Now, this is what she says. Now, I don't believe her. So, a woman spends 3 days in hospital after her dog pooed in her face while she slept. Right?
Oh. She spent 3 days in hospital?
Yeah, she got really sick.
Okay.
So, a woman was hospitalized for 3 days after her beloved pouch.
Pooch?
Pouch. Yeah, whatever. Did a number 2 in her face while she was sleeping. I won't say where she's from, because that would be like, this place mightn't happen that often. But
how often do you think Dogs shit on people.
Yeah, exactly. So very not a case. I don't believe her. Well, she said, I think she's a liar. Basically, she went for an afternoon nap, and for some reason, her mouth was open, and Bella, her dog, decided to join her for said nap. Your one was 51 years old and was snoozing, and little Bella came upset tummy and got the squits, which led to her violently shitting all over the place, including onto her owner's face, and then subsequently into her mouth.
I don't know of it. I can't see a dog just randomly going, you know what?
You trained that dog to shit into your
You're
face.
shit here.
And you thought there was an OnlyFans career waiting for you. She took a fucking selfie of her face covered in shite. She was doing this for sexual means, Ken. There's no way at all. She of course said to it, oh yeah, I was asleep and you can't see me winking there. And my dog came up and had a nap with me. And my mouth just so happened to be open at the time. And the dog just shit into my mouth. I didn't. How was I to know? I was defenseless.
The best thing about this is you've had like over a week to think about this.
I've taken the story and ran with it.
You came up with it. She got the dog to shit on her for sexual reasons.
Thinking she could get an OnlyFans career out of it.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. So after she took her pictures and hopefully cleaned herself off, maybe she didn't, she started to displaying some symptoms that Bella, her pouch, kind of had. So she called 111, and the ambulance was sent to her home. Paramedics checked her out, gave her painkillers for her stomach cramps, and basically instructed her to drink plenty of water and not go sleep near her dog, probably, and close your mouth when you sleep, and would be another good suggestion. Basically to flush out any potential infection that she may or may not have. But after the symptoms kind of got worse 40 hours later, and she started to get, I think, breathing difficulties as well. She had cramps all over her body, and basically Amanda, which I think is her daughter, rang 999. And dispatch was basically told to go to the hospital straight away. And then the doctor basically diagnosed her with gastrointestinal infection, I think it is, had been passed through Bella as feces when she allowed her to shit in her face.
So basically she got an upset tummy because the dog shit on her.
Yeah, she got a gastrointestinal infection for letting a dog shit in his face. So I don't know. Do you believe the story of, oh, I fell asleep with my mouth open and it's shit in my mouth?
I don't see how or why a dog would do that.
I see. Yeah, and like she took a selfie. There wasn't too much shit all over her clothes. Like if a dog lies, especially a small dog, will lie generally on your chest. With its head on your chest. I know some dogs will lie ass to head. But surely it wouldn't. You don't shit where you sleep.
Exactly.
It wouldn't just go, oh, I need to take a shit here. Surely it would jump off. And that takes training. That takes training to know that this is not only allowed, but actually favourable if you did it. Get a treat.
the mark theory on this is that she trained the dog to shit herself so that she can get an OnlyFans account.
A career out of it, yes. This is what I'm suggesting is at play here, Ken.
Seems logical.
It's very, very logical. I think it definitely happened. But who knows? This story definitely might not have happened. And her story might be 100% factual. We don't know. We weren't there.
We weren't there.
So what do you think, Ken? Whose story would you believe on this?
I think they're both kind of unbelievable as each other.
Oh, well, okay then. You take this story and you run with it in your head. What do you think happened?
I don't. It's just somebody looking for attention. I'd say she maybe smeared herself with dog shit.
As a joke.
Like, just looking for attention. Be like, oh, look, my dog shit on me.
All right. Well, yeah. All very plausible, bar hers. But yeah, Jim Carrey is the next thing we're going to be talking about. We're conducting this at the intro. He's been in some great films. What's your favourite Jim Carrey movie?
I'm going to say this because it's the first one that I remember going to the cinema to see with Jim Carrey. Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar. Yeah. That's really good, actually, yeah. I would have went with You, Me and Irene.
The first, just Liar Liar is the first Jim Carrey movie I remember going to cinema to see.
What's the one where he's a cop and he has 3 sons? I think that's You, Me and Irene, isn't it?
He has 3 sons.
Yeah. Yeah, that is You, Me and Irene. He's a kind of a split personality. Yeah. He has a fat son.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's my favourite one. I also Foo Fighters did one to that song, I think. Did they? Not too sure. Can't really remember too well. But anyway, he can, and he is saying that he regrets one film. It's probably one of his films that kind of flew under the radar. It was it was a sequel in a movie. I don't think it was in the original one, but you know the movie Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, the second Kick-Ass, Kick-Ass 2, Jim Carrey played a superhero in it. Now, this movie was made a month before Sandy Hook, where 26 children were killed. And were basically like, it was one of the biggest school shootings in America. And basically, after Sandy Hook, Jim Carrey became advocate gun control and has refused to ever star in a movie where there's violence. And obviously, if you've seen Kick-Ass, it's very, very violent.
It's kind of in the name.
Yeah. Yeah. What was his character's name? Can you remember it?
I can't remember.
I know the movie was actually based off an Image comic graphic novel. It was out in 2013, I think.
The graphic novel is actually really fucking vicious.
Is it?
Yeah, like it's way worse than the fucking movie. It's really fucking vicious.
Yeah, like
Jim Carrey was Colonel Stars and Stripes.
Oh, that's it, Colonel. Yeah, I knew he had the baseball bat, and he had a dog that would bite people's nuts on command.
Yeah.
I think then he got captured, and they did something to his nuts.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It's a good series. Both of them are really good. But after that's the only movie he ever regrets doing, and it's because of the level of violence that's in the movie.
Yeah, it was fairly Vicious.
He's kind of went off the deep end for a bit, didn't he?
But I don't know, did he really, or was he doing like? So remember when he was gone, kind of crazy, and he was doing mad stuff during interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
That was around the same time that the documentary on him playing, what's your man's name, Andy Kaufman, was released.
Oh, right. So he was possibly
So,
too
like,
method actor.
My theory is that he just was like, how do I promote this without actually promoting it? Let's go into Andy Kaufman mode.
Yeah, so he's getting into character, staying in character, and
Yeah, just doing that again.
all right. Yeah, that could be it. Because he recently, I've seen him like for Sonic and all that. He's still kind of kept it up a little bit, but it's kind of dialed back.
I think he really, really hates the fakeness of Hollywood.
Yeah, because he's like, oh yes, I've enjoyed playing the role of Jim Carrey. It was a great role. I'm happy to have played it and all that. That's what he was saying, like at some premiere a few years ago.
Or you ever see the one where your one's like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I was bored, so I thought, what's the most absolutely pointless thing I can go to?"
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah, I see that. And she's like, "Oh, all right, good to see you, Jim Carrey." Oh,
Do you know what's an underrated Jim Carrey movie is Number 23.
I don't think I've seen Number 23. What's it about?
Like, it's a serious, like, it's not like a comedy. Like, it's a serious thing. Like, it's kind of like a thriller. Like, so everything in the world adds up to the number 23.
Oh, interesting. I'll check that out. He has done a few kind of more serious roles.
Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah, he was in the Eternals actually. No, he wasn't in the Eternals. He was in some superhero movie.
He was in Batman.
Was he?
Yeah, he was
Riddler.
the fucking Riddler.
No, yeah. But no, recently enough, I think he's in another DC movie. I think. I don't think of somebody else. I think I am.
So you're not just thinking of Kick-Ass, no?
No, it's the one with Pierce Brosnan in it, and he plays Dr. Fate. The Rock's in it. It's Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Yeah, Black Adam. Is Jim Carrey in that movie? He wouldn't be because it's probably violent. So if
according to this film credits here, he's not.
No, grand. All right, somebody else then.
Yeah, number 23. Watch it.
Yeah, there's Ken's recommendation. There he is. We'll move on to our next story. We're going to be flying through the stories and making great time. Making great time as well for our show because we have a story about a man who was convicted of murder of the 10th degree. I don't know if it was of the 10th degree, but he was convicted of murder. And it was because of a rerun episode of Mythbusters, Ken, that he was exonerated.
Well, holy God.
Holy God, and have all the mercies. The innocent man has been freed from prison after 35 years of a wrongful conviction, partly thanks to a rerun episode of the show Mythbusters. So in September 1981, two brothers were killed in a fire at an apartment in Chicago. Two siblings managed to escape and they blamed the fire on three lads. And they said it was in retaliation for the death of her brother, allegedly. And I think there's something about it was a gang called the Latin Kings. So if people are familiar with Chicago's or Latin Kings, maybe that rings a bell. Maybe it's a story you might resonate with. But basically, I think they were all neighbours in the same apartment block. But there's three of them. One of the guys was I'm trying to get the man's name. It was called John Galvin, and his brother and a third man basically were accused of setting light to this apartment block in retaliation. So the police found him, arrested him, and interrogated him. All three lads admitted to committing. They all signed confessions saying that they were behind the arson attack that led to the deaths of the two men. After they signed the confession, all three of them said that it was a forced confession. I'm trying to find, because it keeps jumping here. They said they were basically had thrown a Molotov cocktail through the window of the apartment block. John Arthur later said that these statements were signed following physical abuse, while the third accused man had signed it while drunk.
Drunk?
Yeah, so basically the police got him drunk and said, like, hey, you did it. You know you did. Just fucking sign it. Stop being a dick. And he's like, fine, I did it. Okay, cool. Can I please stop drinking? They said this all happened without them being read their rights, and all three later were convicted of first-degree murder as well as aggravated arson. So Gavin Gavin basically was in prison and was watching an episode of Mythbusters where they were trying to display the myths of old movie where people would light stuff off cigarettes, and they were able to actually extinguish a cigarette using gasoline, and came to the conclusion that
I remember that episode.
Yeah, it's impossible to light anything using a lit cigarette. So a Molotov cocktail or gasoline, it's basically came down to a myth. At the exact same time he was watching that episode, his lawyer was also watching that episode. He contacted his lawyer and said, here, I was just watching Mythbusters there. And you were like, no way, I was too. I've seen that episode. We might be able to use this to get your conviction overturned. So there was the American Tobacco and Alcohol and Firearms had actually done a similar test, and they had looked into the same thing as the Mythbusters is to dispel a suspect of an arson attack that had claimed that he had accidentally set I think his home alight from after he fell asleep and a cigarette caught fire and caused like his house to burn down or something like that. The team tried 2,000 times to start a gasoline fire using a cigarette and weren't able to basically use it. And they even said that this gasoline had extinguished the cigarette.
Yeah, because it doesn't get the cigarette, unless you're dragging on it, a cigarette doesn't get hot enough to ignite petrol.
So you'd have to you'd have to lie on the ground and pull on the cigarette.
Yeah.
In order to accelerate the heat enough to burn something.
And if you were to do that, you'd probably burn your fucking face off.
Yeah, there's probably some way happening. It's like, I'm just not going to go to a hospital because this will be in the news. Yeah, basically, So they used that evidence as well as witnesses who testified that the police officers who took the statements had used violent coercion elsewhere. And Gavin and his team argued successfully to have not only his appeal overturned, but the three lads were basically released. But you know how, like, your man, the three now are off with murder. Surely now the police officer should be arrested for 35 years for doing that. Or is there like, for doing your job, you can't be necessarily punished?
I know of another case. There's one in America called the West Memphis Three, and they did like 18 years on death row for like murder that they didn't commit. And in order to let them out, there's like some like really rare fucking plea thing in America. They make them like plea not guilty, but acknowledge that there was enough evidence to prove that they did it.
So they can't sue.
Yeah, so you can't sue and nobody gets in trouble for it.
That is so fucking shady, isn't it?
Yeah, and then your only other option to that is to basically stay in prison.
Yeah, well, I guess most people will be like, nah, I'll leave. Yeah, it must be like 35 years of your life gone like that. There's a documentary, I can never think of the name of it. About something similar to that, where your man basically was convicted of murder, wrongfully, got arrested, and basically tried to escape from prison, was then sent to like this prison where you weren't able to talk at all, and if you talked, they would beat the life out of you. It's on Netflix, but I can never think of the name of it. It is brilliant, and all the documentary is your man talking about it. He basically just him in the cell, and for I think an hour and a half, 2 hours, he'll have your attention, and you'll hang on to every word. It's just such a good documentary. I wish I do wish I had the name of it. There's someone shouting at their phone on a bus now, going, "It's this is the movie." But yeah, it's great. Or this is this documentary. We'll move on to our final story, Ken.
Yeah.
And how are we for time? Actually, we have 10 minutes, 12 minutes.
That's more than enough time.
And loads of time to get the story in. If anything, we'll probably be finished under the hour. The scientists basically have proven that, have yet more proof, I should say, Ken, for you, that aliens do in fact exist. And it says that all we have to do is find their drugs, and we will know that aliens exist if we find their stash. So that's what we should be looking out for, is the alien stash of drugs.
Like, I don't even know how to answer that.
Have you ever heard, you know that in England that there's a party drug that's very, very popular, and basically it's laughing gas.
Yeah.
And you know what makes up laughing gas?
Hippie crack. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, but you know what makes up laughing gas? What's the main component of a laughing gas is?
Probably like something with fucking nitrous or something, is it?
Yeah, nitrous dioxide is the main component of laughing gas. So usually, for some reason, what scientists look out for signs of life is oxygen on planets, or water on planets, because you can find water, that they might be able to find life. Or if you find oxygen, it might be able to support life. However, scientists are now saying, no, we should be actually looking out for nitrous oxide, because you want the aliens be a bit of crack, and if they're off their heads on nitrous oxide, sure won't there be gas. Literally, there'll be gas. The aliens could exist, and the proof is in the whippet, which is whippet is better known for basically being laughing gas, which is made up of nitrous dioxide, which could help tell if there's life on planet. Basically, plants and animals emit nitrous dioxide, and it's found. It kind of comes out of the water. It's basically fish produce a lot of nitrous dioxide, and basically as the sun heats up the water, it kind of goes out in the atmosphere, and also most living creatures produce it. So if you can find nitrous dioxide on a planet, there might have been or is life. Which means aliens, which means they're stoners, and that was the biggest clickbait story ever. I thought they found drug paraphernalia, Ken, when I clicked into this story. I'm not gonna lie.
I've got there's so much stuff that even looking for oxygen and water in space is not signs of aliens. That's just signs of somewhere being inhabitable by humans.
Yep.
Like, if there is aliens living on Mars, they're not carbon based. They do not breathe oxygen, and they probably don't need water.
Yeah. Well, there probably isn't water there for them to drink.
Yeah, but so why the fuck do we go, well, because we need it to live? Let's see, it's signs of aliens. Something that's breathing like fucking whatever the fuck the main gas on Mars is does not need fucking oxygen or water to fucking survive.
Yeah. Like I said, this story was hugely clickbait, because I was thinking that they found canisters in space of nitrous oxide. The capsules to put in the air guns that now the kids these days are using them to get high. I thought they found them in space. I thought they found drug paraphernalia belonging to aliens when I clicked into the story. I was, as annoyed as you are of this story, I was so disappointed, because I thought I found a great story, and it turned out to be this shite. I want my cookies back. I want whatever information you got off me to be given back to me, and for you to go fuck yourselves. I feel robbed.
So basically, not only have you not convinced me of aliens, Mark, you've pissed yourself off.
I'm not pissed off. I'm just disappointed, Ken.
Yeah.
Just very, very disappointed. Like, they could have done a lot better with the story, and went out and looked for some drugs and blamed it on aliens. That's all. That's what I thought they did. I was like, astronauts basically are taking drugs in space and going, oh no, this is actually signs that there's aliens out there. I didn't take these. I found them outside the ship. Aliens. See? They have a hash pipe.
Fuck that.
And it wasn't. It was, all we just have to find is this gas, and then we might find some bacteria.
Yeah, well, I'm still not confused. You're not convinced, Mark.
Well, Ken, I'm still not going to stop trying. Until, if it takes getting an alien onto this podcast, I'll get an alien onto this podcast.
Even then.
Yes, that was a very disappointing end.
Like those time traveler lads that are like, I'm from the year 3200. No, you're not. You just smoked too much crack.
Well, I think it's more plausible that there's aliens than there is a lad that have invented a time machine. Like, which one would you class as more plausible? Like, we already can go into space.
They're They're both as mental as each other, Mark.
I don't know if they are, Ken. Like, one has proven that you can do it, and the other hasn't. Like, we go into space. We visit other planets.
Yeah, but that doesn't prove that there's fucking aliens.
But if we can do it, it can prove that, like, okay, there can be an advanced civilization that also do this. And they might be even better at us at doing it. But we've never gone into space. If we couldn't leave our planet, then I don't think other people could do it.
Yeah, I don't know, Mark. I don't know. They're both a
bit mad.
Mental. Yeah. It depends on how much crack you've been smoking.
A lot. Yeah, so we'll leave it there for our show, Ken. I haven't convinced you of aliens.
Nope.
Damn. Do you think I've convinced anybody that there's aliens?
I'd say you've probably convinced more people that there's not aliens.
I went the opposite way around. There's somebody out there that was a believer that's like, oh, actually, I am wrong. And look,
like, you know that episode of Father Ted where the three bishops come to visit and like one of them talks to Dougal and then he was like, you know what, it's all nonsense. And Ted's like, what? Religion.
Yeah, it's aliens. And thanks to Father Dougal there for opening my eyes. Yeah, he leaves in like a hippie van.
Yeah, he fucks off smoking a joint in a hippie van.
Yeah, I've literally probably done that. Alien research has just took a hit today.
Yeah.
It's all thanks to one man. Anyway, we'll leave it there. We'll try to get the podcast back as a weekly thing. Hopefully. Yeah. So we'll see you next week. Don't get too attached to that idea, though. Talk to you later.
Good luck.
No.